Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another astral interview. And here with me, I have a new and good and amazing friend, Carol Wachniak. We just met, like, I don't know, a month or so ago. And, like, I feel like I've known her forever. And
Exactly.
such a beautiful, beautiful connection. I'm so honored to be interviewing her right now. So thank you for joining us, Carol. We really, really love having you with us.
Thanks. This is going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's so true. It's like we're soul sisters that we've known each other forever. Oh, and I love that.
Yeah. When it happens, it's just like that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Carol. Let's start with where you grew up, just to get an idea of your childhood and your past.
Okay. So I'm a contractor's daughter. I
Okay.
was born and raised in the Chicagoland area in the suburbs, just across the fence of O'Hare Airport.
Okay.
Um, My dad was the fourth largest contractor in Chicago at the time growing up, and he thought he was in the best of all worlds. We lived next to a forest preserve, the golf course, and he had private planes when I was little. And
Wow. So
so,
you had to be around all this, well, what felt rich anyways, private planes.
and so he wanted to be a commercial pilot, but they weren't paying anything, and he had too many kids. So the airport went away when O'Hare got big, and so the private planes got sold. But growing up with brothers, I ended up enjoying Boy Scouts more than the Girl Scouts because they were
Oh,
Boy
God.
Scouts leaders,
Right.
and so I got to have lots of really cool experiences. I growing up, I really didn't have formal, like a church education kind of thing. They said if you want to go to church, it's over there. But most of the time, I spent my time in the woods. He made me
Wow.
a boat, and I would I would look at nature. I would be with nature. Um, and so I would take the riding lawnmower and my boat, I would turn it over because it had wheels on, and I'd take it across the street to
How old were you?
oh, I was about 8 or
Wow.
9, and
An 8-year-old with her own boat. Like, come
yeah,
on.
yeah. So, and I had my favorite tree to climb, and when my mom when I was 13, my mom said I couldn't wrestle with the boys anymore. Well, I don't understand. That's how you grow up. You're only, but
Right.
so anyways, I had a unique situation, that's for sure. And so we did a lot of things. We had boats, mini bikes, go-karts, because we're an unincorporated area. So,
Right.
um, fishing, all that sort of stuff.
Wow. So you had a fun little childhood then.
I had a lot of really cool experiences, and we were always doing projects around the house. My dad was always doing something because, a contractor can never leave anything alone. So
Yeah. So what about you as somebody growing up in nature like that? Did you have metaphysical experiences or metaphysical
that's
reality in your life?
that's where, yeah, because I didn't realize that that's where my development happened, right? My classroom was the woods. And I had a knowingness when I was really little.
Wow.
Um, and to the extent where my parents didn't know what to do with me because I would speak something, and the one time really kind of scared me. I told my folks, we were up at Washington Island in Wisconsin, and I said, we can't go home. There's something bad's going to happen. They're going, yeah, right. They're just, go away,
Oh no.
kid, kind of thing. And sure enough, we pull in the driveway. My little brother, I was about 5, he says, can I go play with the neighbor? Goes over to the neighbor's house, and sure enough, all of a sudden he's on fire and he's screaming, and he
What?
runs to the ditch. He had put a smoke bomb in his back pocket and lit it, and burned a huge chunk out of
Oh,
his buttocks.
oh my God.
And that's when I shut down because I didn't have anybody to guide me, and I didn't know what
Right,
to do with that. And
right,
that really scared me because I knew too much.
right,
Uh,
right.
and
And so how did that make you feel, or what kind of relationship did you have with your brother in the first place, and
Oh,
what
super
changed?
close to him. I was
Oh,
super, super close to him. He was like my best friend. And so when that happened, then like that whole summer, because he had skin grafts and stuff, he couldn't go on the sun. He couldn't
right,
go swimming and stuff. Um, so I just stayed in the house and I played with him, and you know,
right,
we stayed close that way. And um, yeah, so it was really an interesting experience
right,
having knowingness, but
right.
having people around you that they
That
don't
did
want to.
happen.
Yeah, they did not want to hear what I had to say.
So
Uh,
describe knowingness. Describe knowingness. Is it like just boom, something shows up in your mind or your reality that like, okay, this is going to happen now, and I know it, kind of thing,
yeah,
or
and
what?
that right. There's something in my sense of my beingness that goes. I just know that this is either going well or this is not going well. If I should pull back, but
Right,
um, I use techniques for myself. I just use my finger. I use kinesiology. And
right,
for example, I was trying to find my daughter's phone yesterday. So I'm walking around the house. I said, here, is it here? It's in the bedroom. Could not find it. My husband, and I stripped the whole bedroom down. And my husband, Phil, he goes in there and he puts his hand on the bed frame as he's leaning down. And sure enough, that phone slid between the
right,
mattress
right,
box and the frame. We would have never found it.
right,
But the strength, my testing it kept saying it's in here. I just couldn't find it, and so it was
right,
fun.
right.
That's that kind of thing, but I use it for
And
everything. I teach
and it,
that.
and it, and it takes trust in that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like implicit trust. Like it doesn't matter what it says, if that's what it is, right?
That's yeah. And your higher self isn't going to lie to you.
Right,
It's there for a reason. And so when it's interesting when I get a kind of like a roadblock, it doesn't mean no, it just means not yet.
right.
There's something in the works. I've learned enough to know that there's
Yeah,
a choreograph going, and it's going to
yeah,
be better than I thought.
right. Wow.
So, yeah. So,
Okay, so we talked about your childhood.
yes.
Now let's move along. Like, okay, so what about your adolescence and your teens and your schooling and all that? What did you do?
So I had a bump in the road in third grade. I got to tell you about, because that really is the formulation. So
Okay,
in third grade, the last day of school, teacher calls me and two other kids up to the front of the class. I'm thinking I'm getting my report card. And she has this look at the students, and she starts to tell my fellow students that they're never allowed to talk to me again, that I had no
what?
business being in this classroom, and that I
Wow,
was to leave the building immediately because I wasn't to associate with the fourth graders because she was flunking me for third grade.
wow.
And
It's one thing to be flunking you, but to be treat you that way, that's another
yes,
story.
yeah, so that was a catalyst that projected me towards what I'm doing today. Of course, my mother had a whole different viewpoint of this lady's behavior,
Right,
but it knocked my confidence, shook it
right.
really bad.
Of
So
course
she
it
had me
is.
tested at different schools, and there was a feeder school for Northwestern, a college preparatory elementary school, and I passed the test, and I was shocked that I did.
Right,
But I did the next year at this school, and my teacher, Miss Voorhees, she was warm and loving. And since my dad was building a building at Northwestern, it was easy for us to get back and forth,
right.
and me to attend. So, anyways, but there were 18 other students in my class, but they were international students.
Wow.
So here, this teacher is shrinking me into, that I shouldn't build friendships, right?
Right.
Limiting thoughts. And here I get into I change environments, I change associations, and the
And a
world
different
becomes my
teacher
friendship.
and a
Yeah.
different culture and a different worldview, and you're going to grow, and so are the students around you as a result.
Yes.
What a difference a teacher makes, eh?
Absolutely. And just changing environments in your association does.
Right.
Because if you're around limiting thinkers, run fast.
What if those limiting thinkers might be your parents?
Yeah, they could think, oh my God. Well, you're usually, it's so true. Because that mine were, I'm, to a big extent, I had these moments. But if you look at yourself and you go, if you're stuck somewhere and you're wondering, so that's actually how I started to become. I build friendships, and
Right.
so that's how I became a master connector. My connection started in third and fourth grade.
So when I met Carol, she told me she was a master connector. And those of you who know me, I used to run a store called Astral Connections. So I wanted to know what a master connector was, because we might have something we want to do together and collaborate, right? Master connections, master connector. So tell us, Carol, what's a master connector?
Okay, so first and foremost, you go to the universe. You say to the universe, you go, "Hi, I'm Carol Wachniak, and I'm looking forward to meeting my new friend."
Aw.
And so then you let the universe start to bring people to you. You attract those in which you were supposed to be attracted to. And in that, what I've done is I build friendships first. Then, if there's some kind of business connection or whatever, when I know that I know the person, I know that I can refer that person
Yeah,
to whomever for the right reasons with the right
absolutely.
intention. So that's my goal, is to build friendships.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, I'm
that
a lot like that. Explains that.
I think that's why we got along
I
so well.
want friends. I don't want business connections as much as I want friends. And then, yeah, absolutely. If we can share something and help each other in some way, somehow, by all means. But first,
Yeah,
I want to make that soul to soul connection, because
yep.
ultimately the person in front of you is you, and you are that person. So you're getting to know that person as you getting to know yourself more.
Right. Right. Because if there's an attribute that you see in somebody, it's a reflection back to yourself that attribute is there. Now that could be good and bad depending on your attitude.
So wait a minute, then. What about these negative people we're around? Does that mean if I'm seeing negative around me, there's negative in me?
That means you have to clear it out. So you take the rubber, do the ho'oponopono.
Right.
You take the eraser and rub it out, But
So for
but
those
it's
of the people watching who don't know what Ho'oponopono is, I mean, wow, what does Ho'oponopono mean?
so so with Dr. Hugh Len, he was trained. He was from Hawaii, and he was trained by a master, a wise man, or I forgot exactly who he calls him, but he's a spiritual person. And Ho'opono means I love you, forgive me, thank you. And it's
I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah, clearing out of yourself.
yeah,
If there's something showing up that's disruptive or whatever, then since we are self-creators and we
right,
are 100% responsible, then you take that 100% responsibility and you clear that out. So if something comes across your table, and you would feel better if it wasn't there, then
right,
it would be a good idea to clear it off of you.
right.
So he
And
did
I'm
that.
sorry, please forgive me,
I mean,
thank you, I love you. Isn't that energetically raising in vibe and
yes,
frequency of I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So you have gratitude and then you have love.
yes,
So
yes,
you're raising yourself in your vibe, and you're moving away from the negative to the positive. Isn't that
right.
correct too?
Yeah, it is. And by him doing that, now he never saw patients. He was over the crisis psych unit with the
Yeah,
highly criminal people and all
yeah,
that. But he would just, you know, clear it out of him over their charts.
yeah.
And actually the facility ended up closing, what, 2 years? I think it was 2 years, something like that, after
Right.
he started doing that. And only two people stayed in prison. Everybody else was released, and they were healthy and they were back into the world. So there's some wisdom in that.
Absolutely. Can you imagine if everyone in all these institutions did that?
Yeah.
How our humanity would change?
Or just even with what's going on in the everyday news, the
Yeah,
community, the
yeah,
disruption.
yeah.
Um, so
So the
there's
thing behind that is also intent, though, right? Like
yes. Yeah.
it's a huge part of it. Like you can't just say the words; you have to really intend with feeling what you're saying. Correct?
Right. Right. Yes. You're completely becoming or being it.
Right.
You're being that forgiveness. You're being so you're owning all of it.
So everyone seems to have some kind of trials and tribulations in their lives that bring them to a certain knowingness. I mean, we talked about you and your knowingness in your childhood,
Right.
but people tend to have these tribulations in their lives. Is there any that you can think of that you've had that really took you to the next level, that opened up certain channels for you that weren't open before?
Well, okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Because I don't. So in third grade, I had been sexually assaulted.
Oh
So that
no!
was a double whammy. When I
But
was
don't tell me by a teacher.
no, no,
Okay.
it was somebody that we knew in the
Okay.
family member that we knew. But um, when I was in my early 20s, um, I lost five female family members in 2 years. And then my brother was missing and murdered and dismembered. And so that was really the thing that took me where I had to figure it out, because I then became the matriarch. When my mother passed away, she was in the group of those women. So it was my mother-in-law, my grandmother, all the so when they had all passed, my mother was my rock.
Right.
She, and then all of a sudden she dies. We didn't have a funeral because my dad was so upset. So he put her onto the side. So we didn't have any closure. My brother and sister-in-law separated within 2 days. Then I started raising his kids. I was pregnant. My bag of water's ruptured. So it was crazy, because I was only 6 months pregnant at the time. I was on bed
Right.
rest. So I found wonderful, godly women who came alongside me, and they helped me. Like these women I had never met before from La Leche League. Every single day, they would bring me lunch and dinner because I was 100% bed rest. And some of them would take my kids and watch them because I couldn't get up. I was already 4 centimeters with an open bag and had to take it. The doctor had me at home because he didn't want me to have a secondary infection from the hospital.
Right.
So these women, I know they help keep that pregnancy going because of their love and care. And I found other women who really, that golden thread, a mother's prayer is never wasted.
Right.
And I know that my mom had prayed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that to me, and when I find people, and I'm going to share this too,
Okay.
who have your energy, you're very loving and caring, and you listen and you're compassionate and all that, you're very nurturing. To me, it just reminds me that prayer is still working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, why do you want to make me cry?
It's a truth, but it's a real truth. And and I have to share my forgiveness lesson,
Okay,
okay?
please.
Because I think this is
'Cause-
important.
well, the fact is that I'm not, you know, giving light to, like, I'm giving light to your story.
Right.
I'm not considering it light, or it's,
Yeah.
insignificant in that
No.
sense. But I do want to say many people gone through what you've gone through, and not even talked about it. And it's in
Right.
here somewhere,
Right.
right?
Right.
For those people, because at least you were able to talk about it, move through it, move forward with it. But what about those people that still have it in their heart, and haven't ever let it go? Let's talk to them right now. What would you say to them?
I So for 30 some years, 39 years, I've been in the birth world, right? I'm a birth worker, doing doula work, midwifery. And you know how you see a pregnant woman and you see the bubble and you know there's a baby behind there? Our souls are just behind the bubble. They never
Yeah,
go away.
right,
So when you think of that loved one, they are there. They are in that pregnant state with you. I will call it that.
oh, right,
So they're thinking of you and you're thinking of them because that connection didn't go away. The
right,
physical body might have gone away, but the connection never goes away. Those
right,
memories are permanent,
right, right.
and it's important. And memories last forever.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
goal for me as working with these moms, because we had an unwed moms ministry in our home and stuff. If memories last forever, then let me make it the best,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times when we're grieving and we didn't get to say our goodbyes or we didn't get to complete something, I give an assignment to, I've been doing this for 40 years, telling this is the assignment. And if anyone's listening and you want to do it, if you have a loved one or you have someone that you're not in communication with, take your opposite hand and write a letter to them with your opposite hand, not the one you normally write with.
Right,
So, me, I'm a righty, so I would write with my left hand and write
right,
them a letter of what you want to say. Then,
right,
after that letter is complete, still with your opposite hand, write a letter back in response and how you think they would respond or how you would want them to respond to you.
right.
Because what happens is it opens a whole new channel, it's a whole new neural pathway,
Okay.
and you get the real conversation.
So
It's
tell
very
me,
significant
so tell me then, Carol, how do you know about these neural pathways?
because I've had to do it myself.
Okay.
And when you do it, it's the truth. Because this way, when you normally write, you have developed neural pathways that block your communication to your higher self.
Right,
When you use your opposite hand, you don't have that.
right,
And if you look at the handwriting, you can also see what age you are
yeah,
writing at.
right,
So, and that's a significant thing. And so I had a one mom who 2 days before she delivered her first baby, her dad died.
oh no,
Years later, 2 years later, she was pregnant with her second baby. 2 days before her baby was due, her mother died.
oh no,
So she did not want to go into labor. She was
right,
having contractions, but she was fighting it. And so I told her to write letters. And there's something else I do these different types of assists. So just imagine a whole box of straws, right? And so one of my assists too is just to ask her, may I help you? And then she takes the straw and then says yes. We
Right.
might go through the whole box of straws, but what happens by doing that, that a sense of trust and allowing processes. And so I did that as an example with her, and then I had her write the letters to her parents. And what happened was such a love letter that responded.
Of course.
And
Wow.
so, you know, then she
So now
proceeded.
you can now share this gift that you use
Yes,
for yourself with others and see
yes,
transformation. And
all the time.
that's such a big gift you're giving everyone.
Yeah, it's really quite special. And so I used to do in my childbirth classes, ask these questions. I had like 35 words, and I would say, you can only put plus or minus. And I would say, hospital, dad, blood, doctor, whatever. And if they had all pluses, I knew I had work to do. Or if I had
Right.
all negative, I knew I had work to do. If they were mid the road, kind of an equal amount, I knew that they didn't have trauma.
Right.
But the other
Wow.
ones, there was trauma of some sort. And
Right.
nurturing that, because you don't want to put somebody into a stressful situation that would trigger trauma.
Right.
And there's nothing more vulnerable for a woman, obviously, is to be on the table delivering.
A
Um,
child.
and
So
yeah,
what made you decide to be a doula or a midwife? Because how did that come to be?
well, with my first daughter, she was a frank breech. And
What is that?
luckily, that means she came butt first with her legs up on her shoulders and her
Okay.
feet up by her neck.
Oh my
And so
God.
she was, and I had a doctor who was an older doctor who breech deliveries was a normal, but in the 70s, that's when they started all the C-sections.
Right.
Anybody was a breech, there was a C-section. Luckily enough, she happened to be one of my easier births. But with my son, I busted my tailbone. Then with my second son, I busted my tailbone.
Oh my God.
So with my third, I was trying to find a doctor who would allow me to be on my hands and knees or deliver in a different position. And so I happened to meet this Bradley teacher in church, and she also was a midwifery assistant. So Cindy introduced me to Linda. She's a certified nurse midwife here in the Chicagoland area. And I thought if I could deliver on my hands and knees, I won't touch my tailbone, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
couldn't get any of the hospitals to allow me to do that.
Amazing. Amazing for you to even think of that as a possibility for yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. I had to figure something out because it was going to hurt otherwise. And
Right.
I broke my tailbone at age 13, so I've already got 3 down,
Right. Right.
And so I know recovery is very slow, and every time you sit down, you break it
Right.
again.
Right.
So, so anyway, so I decided to have a home birth, and I knew once my knees started to shake that I had an hour before I delivered,
Oh
and
my God.
so delivered at home
Right.
in the shower. I went Yahoo! It just I accomplished that, and it was really cool because in the morning I was sitting in the rocking chair in the living room, and the kids came out of the bedroom. Just normal, every day.
Yeah.
Where's mom? Nothing changed, and I thought this is the way to go. That's when I decided
Wow.
to become a Bradley teacher, and then
And
that's
what is
when
Bradley? What is Bradley?
Bradley is a method. It's a technology, an educational program that teaches women how to do more of a natural childbirth.
Wow. Nice.
And it's educating the consumer, because being an informed consumer is more empowering than just being a good patient. You don't want to be just a good patient. You want to know.
I had a dream not so long ago about having a baby, and there was nobody around, just my belly getting bigger and bigger, and then this baby popped.
That means something new is coming into your life. You know that.
Yeah, so that's what I keep getting told.
So,
Maybe it's a new Facebook because my Facebook was just hacked.
oh yeah, new energy for sure for that Facebook account. But yes, so that's how I started. And then I had an experience when I was younger with my mom. She was a volunteer at an orphanage. She
Okay,
would go and pick the babies up at the hospital. Then they would come and stay at our house until the social worker or the nurse would come and pick them up and take them to the new birth mom.
right.
So when I was at the hospital with my mom picking up this one baby, this nurse was really mean to this baby, and he had a
Oh,
piece of tape on his back and a number, and she ripped that off. Well, when she ripped that off, she ripped the skin, and the baby's screaming and bleeding. And back then there were car seats, so I was holding him in my arms, and I thought to myself, no baby should go through that, and this mother wouldn't have released this baby if she knew this was what going to happen to him.
right.
So I thought to myself, I wasn't, you know what, maybe 10 or 11, something like that. So here I am now as a childbirth educator, and I have unwed moms coming to the classes.
Right.
And all of that drama and the emotions that go with it, and thinking that these women only had 3 days to make a decision wasn't wasn't right.
That is right. That doesn't seem right. Yeah.
So I
Not
let
right.
it's not right. So what we started doing was letting these moms come and stay at our home
Oh,
before
wow.
or during, and sometimes they'd stay up to 3 weeks later. But guess what happened after baby was born and everything was settled, and people started to look at the baby and all that. All but two babies were adopted out. And the one
Oh, wow.
mom became her daughter's babysitter and godmother,
Oh,
and she got
oh,
a full scholarship to Northwestern. And the
oh.
other mom had an open adoption where it was letters and things.
Well, I want to adopt, but I'd much rather have the child with their own mom than adopt and give
Right.
that, you know,
Sometimes it
absolutely.
just it has to be, sometimes it just has to be.
Yeah.
But at least give a choice.
Yeah.
Give a choice, and then allow some of the bonding time so
Yeah.
that if there is a conversation at some point later on in life, then it's a different energy. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense.
So,
Because because really, I mean, the mom and the child are bonded already. So having that experience with their own child, I can't imagine any way a mom would let her child go. I mean, unless if there was dire necessities,
right,
right?
right.
And and you've already proven that with your little experiment there.
Yeah. And so I got this year, earlier, or last year I should say, I got a college graduation picture of one of the girls that had been through our home. And the oldest one, the very first little girl that came through our home, she is 36 years old now,
Wow.
and she lives
Wow.
in Seattle now and stuff. Really, really nice. But so
So
let me,
it's very, very fulfilling for you to know that and to have that
yeah,
experience and the story and the future story as well.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So the lessons for me about birthing was also a gift for me for forgiveness.
Okay.
So with my brother who was missing, we couldn't locate him, and then he was found by some surveyors. His hand was sticking up in a shallow grave.
What?
Yeah, he was dismembered, and so I was trying
How
to.
old was he?
He was in his 30s.
And which brother was this?
My youngest,
The
the one
one
that
that really
Yeah.
close to, whose butt got,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
it's interesting because I
It's interesting that your brother's butt got, well,
burnt. Yeah.
burnt, and then your baby comes out of you butt first.
Yeah.
What's with all these butts in your life?
I know. But I felt there was something wrong. I just couldn't place it. But I felt like my brother was calling me, and
Yeah.
energetically he was. I just
You
didn't.
didn't, you
I
didn't
didn't know the
recognize.
situation,
Right.
and so I was thinking of the gentleman who had murdered him. I learned a
Right.
lot about murders and death and
Oh,
homicides
right.
because when you have somebody who just shoots somebody, they have no emotion to them. It's like a job, it's or whatever. But when you have somebody who does a lot of trauma, there's somebody who knows you personally. And so I thought to
Well,
myself, it took a lot.
when you tell me that somebody dismembered somebody and all that kind of stuff, that's not just, that's
No.
like, you got to be a really evil person to do that,
We
or really pissed off at somebody to do that, I guess, is the other one. But
we
uh, and nothing justifies it, of course, on any
no.
level.
No.
But I wonder what goes through someone's mind when they do something like that.
So this is what I had to come to the conclusion because I couldn't allow that person to take me with him. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it. I thought to myself, when this gentleman was born, when he was just a couple minutes old,
Right.
he had no thought or nor inclination to cause anybody harm.
Right.
So here he is now as an adult. What the heck happened in his world
Right.
that caused him so much pain to want to
Right.
cause so much pain?
Right.
That's when it struck. That's when I looked, because I always tell people, and this is how I see my world.
Right.
I look into your eyes and I see a 1 day old baby. And what wouldn't you do for that 1 day old baby? It
Oh.
didn't take the experience away, but how I experienced the thought changed.
Right. Right.
So it didn't have the sting to it anymore. It had
Right.
compassion.
Right.
There was
So,
forgiveness,
and so,
but
do you look at everyone like that now, or do you look at everyone
all
as
the time.
all the time? Hmm. That was a
All,
really cute 1 year old.
but the eyes never change. They're your soul's expression.
Right.
So you want to know that person. You want to know who they are
You know,
inside.
my pictures of being 1 year old were on Facebook, and I don't have them anywhere else.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh well. Must be a reason to let that go.
Must be a reason. Let go. Absolutely. So, when Scotty was missing, this is a powerful story. When Scotty was missing, I thought the knights in shining armor come. I thought the horses, the dogs, the rescue dogs, whatever. Well, our area didn't have any rescue dogs. And I didn't want anybody to experience what I experienced. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to find a way to help the canine unit at some point.
Right.
Well, by doing all these home births and stuff, I just made the decision one time I was going to find a way to help. So I started telling the clients,
Right.
if they didn't want their placentas, can I donate them to the search and rescue?
Oh
Because
wow.
placentas are clean, tissue. When you use a cadaver, is what they usually use, it's formaldehyde. The average person does not smell like formaldehyde. So if you're
Right.
looking for a live human being, you need live tissue. So,
Wow.
or at least close to it. So I had 7 frozen placentas in my freezer one day. So I called the DuPage County canine unit, the director, and I told him, I've got these placentas. Do you want them? He was at my door in 30 minutes.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa. And he goes, I have all these puppies coming from Canada and across the US to come and get certified, and they're going to be certified by me, but I don't have any tissue. And
Right.
he says, so I gave him the stuff. He signed off on them. And he called me 2 days later to tell me that all the puppies had passed. And thank you very much. And I said, well, why were all these puppies coming in the first place? And he
Right.
said, because all the dogs from 9/11 are either dead or dying. And these puppies
What?
are going to replace them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So when I
Oh,
think of my brother, I think of the dogs. If one of those puppies saves
yeah.
one life,
It's worth it for you.
it's worth it.
Worth it for anyone. Yeah.
Anyone. And um, so that was powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because not only did that grief transform into saving another life, you grew from that. You
Yes,
grew to become more compassionate from that. So
absolutely. Yep.
so
Yeah. I had just gotten a job at United Airlines
right.
when my brother, uh, I think I was only there like 6 weeks or something, 7 weeks. And early on in my time with United was when I designed the bag tag. They
What's
were
a bag tag?
they are the peel and stick that you put on your suitcases when you're going to fly.
You designed those?
Yeah, I designed that.
You like
In
you
1986.
too funny.
Because I wanted everybody to enjoy flying. It was, when I went to go get a job, because I still had the 4 kids and stuff, I want my flight benefits and I want insurance. That's what I
Right.
went for. And my job paid $4.25 an hour. It wasn't like it was but it had those benefits,
So when you
right?
designed those, did that make you extremely wealthy?
No, the intellectual property is owned by the company you work for.
Oh,
I got
right,
a
of
gym
course.
bag for that idea. You want to know how my gym bag's doing?
Of course. That's
So
not
no,
fair. That's not fair.
but I have to tell you why I made the tag.
Please
So,
do.
way back when, they were square colored pieces of paper on a string. There was not even an airport code on the colored pieces of paper. So
Right.
when they went through the conveyor belt, the paper would tear or the string would break, or the bag handlers who were colorblind guessed at what color it was and they would ship them to what color they thought they saw. And that's why we were losing so many bags.
Oh my God.
So it has energetically, all
So
the
how'd you
airline.
figure that out?
What?
How'd you figure that out?
It
Because
was just a great
because it's
need.
like no one else figured it out.
Well, I had been doing conferences, so I went to there was a like a competition. Like, what do you think is the biggest problems going on in the industry? Well, I already knew there was a massive amount of lost baggage.
Right.
And so I went to my own personal printer and I told him, I said, this is what Mr. Martin, this is what we have going on. And I
Right.
need something that we can put on that won't be torn off as it goes through the conveyor belt, but we can remove it when we want to. And that's where this
Right.
peel and stick came about. And then
Oh,
the barcode came from UPS. They designed the barcode and the computer system
right.
that would read on the scanners, but the actual
Right.
tag is used on every airline around the world, save billions of dollars.
Wow.
That taught me something,
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
an idea, if you have it with the
And
right intention.
yours with your company, then you can really benefit from it yourself.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
just,
that story teaches me.
no, you know, so there is energetic money in the bank. It's
Right.
coming my way.
Right. Of
There,
course.
you know,
Of
because
course, because you did it for humanity. So
right, right. I didn't,
spirit's got
yeah,
to give back.
yeah. And you can ask for tenfold blessing, you know, because it was for the right reasons. It was right intention. But it gave me confidence. That was like a rock in it for the confidence issue
Right.
because they're like, holy cry. And so when people get their bags to the right location, that's like ching ching, slam dunk,
Yeah.
ching ching,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
fireworks, the whole, it's a party.
Yeah. I hear you. Because every time that happens, you're the reason that that's happening.
Yeah.
And spirit's got this.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's not amazing. Oh my God.
isn't it
What a
fun?
beautiful, what a beautiful, what a beautiful realization, and what a
Yeah.
beautiful act of unconditional love that you
Yeah.
took part in there, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I know that they'll have a better trip and they'll have a better experience because nothing's going to mess it up worse than not getting your bags.
Right.
No clothes or anything on the other side. But
Yeah, that's right.
so, anyways, so those are some of my experiences. But then I got very sick in 2003.
What happened?
I became super allergic to everything.
So what was happening before that?
All of a sudden, I started having when I ate something cooked, I started having extreme blood pressure issues,
So
290
like
over 190.
had you moved to another place, or had something
All of a,
changed? Everything was the same?
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I just started having these horrific reactions. And then I go into anaphylactic shock.
Wow.
So I don't know
What is anaphylactic shock?
an anaphylactic shock is where your throat swells up. You start,
Oh,
you're just, the allergy reaction is so severe.
okay.
And so Christmas 2002 Christmas, I was in the hospital. I had been in the hospital a number of times already, and I had been going back and forth in an ambulance. I knew the paramedics and the firemen on a personal basis. So, but the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and it was
Now,
Chris.
I did them on a personal basis because of your doula work, or
No, because of how many times I've been taken back and forth to the hospital
because of?
because of the allergy reactions.
Okay, so this was one incident after having a bunch of allergy reactions, correct?
Yeah, it just kept
And we don't
going.
know what started them.
No, don't know what started them, but something started them, and it was severe because my blood pressure go 290 over 190.
Wow.
So that's a stroke, that's a heart attack, and wasn't having strokes and heart attacks, but the reaction was so
Right.
severe. And then they give me all these chemicals to try to bring it back down, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't know. So eventually, anyways, I was in the hospital, and on Christmas Eve, the doctor was going to release me on Christmas Eve, and she goes, "You know what? It just doesn't feel right. I'm not going to release you till tomorrow." So my family had left, and a few minutes later, the nurse came to draw my blood, and I went into cardiac arrest.
Oh my God.
And I was rushed into the intensive care, and I look out the window, and I was praying, God, don't take me. And looking out the window,
But wait a
and
minute, you went into cardiac arrest, but you're looking out the window?
no, I was rushed into the intensive care unit.
Okay. Okay.
So the crash team had come, and then they
Okay.
took me in, and I could see my kids and my husband through the
Right.
window in the parking lot, and
Okay.
they could see me.
Okay.
And I
Wow.
said a prayer, God, don't take me now, because my mom died when she was 50 and I was in my 20s. So I knew what that was going to be like. And so anyways, they finally got me stable. I was by myself, and I hear these words audibly in a deep, resolute voice. Coach at the cellular level. Now I'm looking around, there's nobody in that room but me. But
Coach,
at
coach at
the
cellular.
cellular level.
Wow.
And I did not know what that meant, but it was loud, deep, and clear.
It was a male voice.
Male voice.
Yeah.
And it was, like authoritative kind of voice.
I've had that happen to me once, and it was when I was on the streets. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, but this voice says to me, "Change lanes," and it's a male voice. It's loud, and I'm like looking all around to see where that voice was coming from. Right, like, huh? And then again, change lanes. And again, I'm looking around me. Where's that? I thought somebody had gotten into my car or something, or right. And then third time, this was way louder and way change lanes. And then I'm still like in shock from hearing this voice.
Right.
All of a sudden, my hands start moving. My foot goes from brake to gas. My indicator goes now, and I change lanes, but I didn't do any of those.
Exactly.
And I didn't do any of those acts. And when I was in the other lane, there was like a 5-car crash, like in the lane beside me. And like I'm watching this, and all I could think of as I'm driving by is like, why was I spared? Why did they have to go through this, right? Because like I'm seeing glass, I'm seeing blood,
right?
And so I drove past the light and parked, and then cried for I don't know how long, because it was like, what the just happened?
Right. Exactly, because it was real. It was a divine moment.
Yeah.
So on January 4th, the hospital and the doctors released me from the hospital, and they told me I wasn't going to make it. Right. I was 79 pounds. Right. And they told me to get my paperwork in order and good luck.
And so all that's happened so far is that voice has said to you, coach at the cellular level. And all that's happened is the hospitals are telling you you're not going to make it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's all you know, those two things.
That's all I know. And so when they released me, I had no one to go to. I had nowhere to go. And I was terrified.
I wish I knew you to call me.
Yeah. I know that now. But so I believed the doctors, right? And I had 8 kids. My youngest was 4.5 at the time. So I was grieving, and I was only drinking water, and I was reading my Bible and doing prayers. And I went 96 days that way. And I was thinking to myself,
so what made you read the Bible? Were you a Bible reader before?
I started a Bible study a few years prior. After my mom died is when I started. So I was aware of it, but then I thought I don't have any other place to go, right? I didn't know any other practitioners, nothing. I had nowhere to go. So I thought, I got to get myself ready or something. And I thought I had to figure out what my last life lesson was for the kids.
Right.
And on March 22nd, I told my kids, you have to go out and find someone to help. Because what I realized is that when really things got tough for me with all of those traumas, that what I did was I went and found other people to help.
Right.
And
you tried to give your kids the same lesson that you went through when you were a child.
Right.
Okay.
So the next day, I'm flipping through the radio stations, and I never heard this radio station before. And I hear coach at the cellular level and a phone number. And I called it. That was all I heard. I call it, and it's for an alternative health institute.
Okay.
And it was $1,200 to talk to this guy for 30 minutes.
Of course it was.
and it was an unattainable amount of money at the time to me, but my kids did a fundraiser, and so I got to go, and I heard about foods with bioelectrical charge. I found out we're electrical,
Yeah.
and I also found out that I was
Yeah.
hyperacidic,
Oh, that I know.
you know? Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, right?
But
Nobody.
how did you, what do you mean you found out you were acidic? What percentage?
I was hyper acidic. I was
Hyper.
off the charts acid.
Wow.
And so then, because he did my blood workup. But guess what? The regular Western medicine didn't say that would make sense of why my tests were so bad, the reactions were so bad, because the higher the acidity, the more I had these allergy reactions. Well, then
Right.
learning about living foods with bioelectrical charge, and alkalinity, the more alkaline, the more electrical I became, more
Yeah.
energetic I became. My allergies went down, blood
Wow.
pressure went away. I'm
Wow.
like, holy cry. And in these hospitals, you see these cardiac units with all these patients and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? When we could fix this with food?
Wow. You
So,
could, so like the thing is, you could have just listened to that radio station say that and give up and say, I don't have the $1,200 and
right,
not move forward.
right.
But you were somebody who somehow knew you had to do this and
Yes,
found a way to do it. But
right.
it could very well been that you not had done that.
Yes. And that would have been the end of me,
Right.
right? But I really felt that that was a divine message for me,
Right. Well, of course it was.
And so I'm very grateful. I was a patient first, and then I became an instructor for 6.5 years at this institute.
Wow.
And people would come up to me, and I'd tell them, don't be afraid. It's okay. We'll get you through it. So I started having classes, and so I learned about the foods with creation therapy. That's really what it is. Creation therapy with life
What is
force energy.
what is it?
Creation therapy.
Creation therapy. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that is?
Yeah, so in the Bible, we are given the seeds as
Right.
as food,
Okay.
right? But
Mana.
exactly, when you soak those seeds,
Yeah.
there's enzyme inhibitors that protect each seed, right?
Right.
And those enzyme inhibitors are not healthy for you or me or anyone. But when you have the perfect environment to help that seed melt away the enzyme inhibitors, and within 12 hours, they start doing cellular division. They have life force energy in them. They're transmitting a frequency. And that frequency matches the same frequency and vibration of the newborn stem cell that your body just created. When you
Wow.
take these seeds that have life force energy, their intention is to become a full and healthy plant, right?
Right.
They have an antiviral, anti-cancer, antibacterial sheathing around the germ of the seed.
Right.
And when you so I have seed milk in 168 countries, and I've taught this because I learned about foods with bioelectrical charge. And when you put these 4 seeds together in a specific way, and you whip it and you liquefy it within seconds, you separate the liquid from the pulp. Now, when you drink the liquid, you're getting the full electrical life force energy charge
Wow.
for every cell.
Wow.
And when the cell needs a dry state space in there, the sodium and the potassium create electrical generator. It's like, so when you do a live blood cell and you
Right.
look on a black field, you will actually see the light inside of your cells. So when
Wow.
you see somebody who's really illuminated, right? And you say, God, you're just glowing. Well, it's true because those seeds, or that cell, I mean, has life force in it. And
Right.
each individual cell has
Right.
memory
Right.
and has life.
Right.
So,
And so the key is to bring that cell back to life. Now, you were talking about enzyme inhibitors. Now, there's all
right,
these enzyme supplements that people take. Are those beneficial to people
those
or
are those are beneficial because those are not the inhibitors. The inhibitors are there to protect the seed from you know bacteria or other
right,
agents, right? So
right,
you never soak seeds together. You soak
okay.
them separately because they're poisonous to each other.
Oh, okay, wow.
They're also poisonous to us.
Okay.
So you want to soak seeds, nuts. So in the United States, for
So
example,
even nuts should be soaked separately, never together.
right? And
Wow.
nuts are in the United States are acid vat cracked. They put them in piles and piles in vats of acid
Oh my God.
to weaken and loosen the shell.
Wow.
So they're acidic infused. And so if you tasted a fresh raw cashew,
Okay.
it would taste like a vanilla wafer. And it's very powdery,
Right.
almost like a powdered sugar experience.
Right.
But the cashews we get, because they've been opened up, we're using a technique of using acid,
Right.
and then they're steamed, they're hard. They're not sweet and light and airy.
Wow.
So, uh, so you need to soak them. But the more important piece of this puzzle is when you soak seeds or nuts and they start to germinate.
Right.
They have life force. So if you're walking up to an apple tree and the apple is still connected, it has a bioelectrical charge.
Right.
If you take it off the tree, it has raw enzymes,
Okay.
but it no longer has electricity. Our
Right.
hearts are 90 millivolts of electricity.
So are we supposed to be eating these apples while they're on the tree?
Well, the point is
Yeah.
just it's an awakening moment to
Right.
think, to be consciously aware that we were gifted these for a reason,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
but no one's taught us that. Holy cry, you know, dead food makes dead people.
So was Eve's sin really pulling it off the tree, not biting into it then?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. But I do know that I have saved lots of lives by sharing what I've learned. Paid $100,000 over the period of time, and continued, and I've been teaching what I've learned ever since.
Wow.
So I have one of the things that I have coming up on April 15th is I'm going to do a 5-day Jumpstart Your Health challenge. So
Amazing.
anybody can come because I decided, okay, like anybody else,
Tell us, tell
this
us about
less
it.
what?
Tell
We
us
just
about it.
so
Tell us about it.
so I'm really excited. Okay, as you
Can
know,
I
life.
come?
Yes, it's going to be on Facebook. I have a
Okay.
I have a Facebook group called Jumpstart Your Health.
Okay, so I gotta add you because I don't have you because I don't have Facebook.
Yeah, and anybody can join us. And
Okay.
I'm really excited about it because I've got a lot to share. I've got boxes of stuff to share. But of course, but we're going to be addressing inflammation.
Okay.
Inflammation is the heat, right? That causes a lot of discomfort. And so we'll be talking about inflammation. How does it show up and how can we take care of it? And so within those 5 days, I'll give a lot of tips that people can take home that day, utilize it, implement it,
And see
and
the
start to shift.
results.
Yep, and they'll
Wow.
start seeing results. And then I'm going to do a
Wow.
12-week program after that. So, So as you know, I'm a mother of 8, and grandmother of 17, and
Yes.
life has happened. Um,
Yeah.
and so I need to do it. And since I'm doing it for myself, I thought, you know what? I'm not the only one, and I'm gonna I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna go back to teaching and share
Beautiful idea.
because people need it and it saves lives.
And it's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I'm excited about.
You mentioned frequency.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm going to take you back there for a second because not everybody knows the effect of frequency
Oh,
as right. And so
right.
can you speak a little bit about the basics of frequency? Anything?
Well, there's a resonating. You want you want the harmonics or you want the resonating tone that causes a more harmonious alignment. So when, for example, when you take a brand new baby seed, right, and you it starts to germinate, and we build all these brand new baby cells, stem
Yeah,
cells every day.
right, right,
What this little guy does is he opens up his mouth, he nurses, he burps, he poops, he goes to sleep, and then he's given the directive of where he needs to go and what he needs to repair.
right,
These two match. They identify with each other. And when you identify with each other, they then cause something better.
right. That communication causes
That
something better.
communication
And
causes,
that recognition because it recognizes itself.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And with the right intention, right?
Right,
Because you could cause harm or you can cause good. And it's in your intention of what you
right,
want it to be.
right, right. Absolutely.
So the intention, so you so you would write the word love on the bottle that you're soaking your seeds in, each
Absolutely.
one,
Yeah,
because as we know from Dr. Yamoto,
yeah. Messages in water.
messages in water, and we highlight that. We you know,
Yeah,
you intend to make that love resonate through
in
you.
the seeds that you're
Yeah.
germinating.
Hmm. And if
Wow.
you have dis-ease, that means there's lack of love there.
Yeah. In fact, I interviewed someone who went to. Do you know who Ramtha is?
Mm-mm.
Or Jay Z Knight? She was a
Never met.
channeler. She was a chandler. She was a housewife and she was a chandler, and she channeled this warrior male through her. So, he was saying how, or he was watching her, the warrior in her, tell somebody because they were going through all this pain and they've tried everything and I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried this and I've tried. And the warrior voice says, "Have you tried loving yet?"
Exactly. Yeah. That actually is part of the healing process. So
Absolutely.
so when I was sick, um I had to start to imagine. I told every cell in my body from my toes to my nose that I
Right.
love you.
Yeah.
All the parts, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? But what happens is that you have gratitude.
Right.
And what does that do? It resonates with your higher frequencies.
Well, it recognizes it. So when it
Yeah,
recognizes it, it's like, hey, I know this. I know this being or this person. This is me. And now
right,
there's a communication happening versus that fear, doubt, reality
right,
person who it doesn't recognize because it's not that, right?
right. Or unwilling to receive. That's a big problem. A lot of people,
Yeah.
they've been hurt, so they harden their heart and they go, I'm not going to. But I remember how weak I was. Like they had to carry me into the institute. I wore a size 10 little girl's pants. That's how skinny I was, how tiny I was.
Wow. Wow.
I was just skin, bone, what muscle tissue wasn't really
What
there.
happened to the muscle tissue? Was it something they did in the hospital or?
I just got so sick, and I
Oh,
just you just start to degenerate,
Right.
right? Because I couldn't
So,
eat.
so when it comes to the hospital and delivering in a hospital versus delivering with a midwife or a doula, what advice do you have for people? Why would they choose one or the over the other? Or
So,
if,
so when I'm as an informed consumer, you're going through the benefits and risks.
right,
Now, and what your ultimate goal is, what your comfort zone is. So, and then prenatally, you're getting assessed on whether you're, so a healthy woman who, who's stayed healthy throughout the whole pregnancy, it's very easy. Most women, 98% of the women who walk through the door of the hospital,
right,
normal, everyday, healthy woman, the OB floor is controlled by the anesthesiology department. They
right.
become a future surgical patient.
Okay,
That thought process is there. The intervention is there. You have higher risks, especially if you're at a teaching hospital where they have to have patients to practice on.
right.
So the anesthesiology department is really proud at Northwestern on how every anesthesiology student gets an opportunity to give 8 to 12 epidurals per shift.
Oh my God.
And they pride themselves over that. Did the mom need it? Probably not. Water, if you put a mom in the water, it decreases her discomfort by 80%.
Wow.
If she's buoyant in the tub, she
Right,
doesn't have the extra gravity pushing and weighing her down. She has the
right,
warm water that would soothe, right? Or
right.
in the shower, it acts like a TENS machine, where you're getting overstimulated, helps your body relax.
So are we trying to, so are we saying that advanced technology isn't really advanced?
We have extremely poor outcome ratio compared to other parts of the world.
Right,
We were down into the 50s. Now,
right,
if we're that great, we would not be in. So, the countries where they have midwives calling the shots under
right,
midwifery care,
right,
they have the best outcomes
right,
because they're not, a surgeon is trained to do surgery. If they're not doing surgery, they're not practicing their art form.
right. Wow,
So they're not making money.
right.
And every package you open in the hospital is a ching ching. Now,
Yes.
it's interesting when moms will be in labor and they'll go to the hospital, their labor will stop. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, they're in a new environment, and in order for that baby to be protected, she has to build up immunities to things that she's just been exposed to.
Right.
So, so when she
So
goes to
it's
nurse,
nature doing its part
right?
to recalibrate, basically.
Yes, yes.
Wow. Isn't
But
that amazing?
yeah, and so mom's labor will stop, but then the hospital's like, well, you're here to have a baby, so we have to get on with it. So then you comes the pitocin and epidurals, and the heart rate will drop with the epidural every
Right.
time, and then the heart rate will go down so much, and then they'll say, take you to this surgery, and we just saved your baby.
Wow.
It's crazy, but by empowering a mom to be an informed consumer, if she chooses to be at the hospital, has more choice if she knows who to call, what hospital, and why. So a lot of people just choose a hospital and they don't know why they're choosing that hospital or the outcome. So I tell my moms to call in the middle of the night and ask the nurses if they have a minute and tell them I'm doing some consumerism, and I'd like to know, what the C-section rate is. Who would
Right.
you recommend as a doctor to it? Who is the less interventionist?
Right.
because you can always cut, but don't rush it, right? If there's a reason for it, absolutely. Because
Right.
I had, so just so you know, so I had a frank breech, broken tailbone twice,
Yeah.
home birth, then my next two children, because of presentation, were C-sections,
Yeah.
and then the next two were home births.
Okay.
So I've had a variety of experiences. So I've had two VBACs at
So
home.
so then that means you're equipped with the knowledge of both sides to be able to present the information of both sides.
Right.
And spirit puts you in that position, so you would be,
Yeah. Right.
because they always do.
Yeah. So usually when I'm called to a birth now, because, you know, it's not necessarily for the birth work as much it is for there's a spiritual journey going on. There's, mothering, nurturing that needs to be done. So many other.
I want to like have a baby just so I could go through this process with you now.
Yeah, because it's really special. Yeah, I have to say it's really special, and it's just to you know t- it's it's an amazing feeling to leave a home when you know a miracle just happened and nobody
Right.
else knows about it.
So you must have had some amazing aha moments or experiences while you were in these experiences with these
Mhm.
children being born,
Yeah,
spiritual um,
yeah. Their
experiences,
souls are
aha moments, their
their
soul,
their
their soul.
souls are showing up. So okay, just the other day, my daughter was at a birth, and this little guy came super fast. So he was bruised on his face pretty bad, but his
Oh,
oxygen level was low. And there's a friend of mine, and she's an intuitive too. And I said, you know, so anyway, she says, he's still trying to figure out if he really wants to be here. He didn't
yeah,
quite sign up for this program. This wasn't quite what he thought he was
it's
going to
like
be.
no,
Yeah,
no.
like I just came from, source, and now I'm here. And anyways,
Oh,
it was really cute. And the other day when I was in Indianapolis, I told you that baby. I was talking to Barb, and she goes, "Yeah, she's swimming the other direction. She has no intention of coming out." And I go, "But I've been here 10 days. Could you
oh my
please have a conversation with her, please?" And she ended up
God.
delivering later that day. But you know, it's
But
just fun.
show that nobody wants to come back almost.
I think,
Oh, why did I say come back? That means that
mm,
implies reincarnation. So that subconsciously I'm implying reincarnation.
I think one of the things is that we know we made an agreement, but we didn't know what it was going to be completely, what that full experience was going to be.
Right.
And
And
let's
the question,
face it.
why did we make an agreement in the first place?
Hmm.
Or was it really an agreement, or was it something that everyone's, I don't like using the word forced, but
Right. But I think we have choice because I know the reason I know we have choice, and I'm going to share this experience with you. So my dad, he had gotten sick, and I knew his cardiac was wearing down and all the other stuff, and I was terrified to have him pass on my watch. So ultimately, he ended up with this stroke, and I was rubbing his back, and we were going to go to the hospital, and he goes, "Will you cut that out? Because I can feel it." Because what I was saying is, "I love you, I love you." And I
right,
was doing it over his heart and through his back, and he said, "I can feel that." So, anyways, we get to the hospital, and he doesn't want heroics, and they wanted me to take him home on Sunday with morphine. I said, "I'm not going home with morphine without hospice,
right,
supervision." I thought, "No way, I'm smarter than that." you know.
right.
And so, anyways, so he's anyways, in his season of passing, I have a friend who's an opera singer, and she's singing to him for 4 hours, and then she goes, "Okay, I have to go to the bathroom, so I got to go now." So at midnight, she hangs up. And I
Right.
knew he was, you know, fluid was building up around his heart. He was having a harder time breathing. And, anyways, his breath was getting really far out there, like
Right.
really far out there. So I got
Right.
really close up to him, like this. And he opens up his eyes and he goes, "Can't you see somebody's trying to die around here?"
Aw,
So I knew it, that was a gift for me.
yeah. Yeah,
That,
I'm pretty certain that they know when they're gonna go, and if they don't wanna go, they don't have to go. And just based on the interviews I've done, based on my own grandparents'
yep,
lives, how they left, I'm definitely convinced that they know. And near-death experiencers do have a
yep,
choice, right?
right,
And um, and
yep.
they choose to come back to serve, most of them, right?
Yeah, they know that they've got something to do, and for whatever that is to do.
Yeah,
And and sometimes, when we ask for some things, you've had friends or you've known people who have, prayed, don't let this one go.
right,
And sometimes they've gotten their wish and they realize that they, felt like they imploded too much of their own
right,
need into the situation. And
right.
so, but I think I have been very blessed with the rainbow of emotions
Mm,
that have gone with my life.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it is a gift because each time you have an emotion, you're alive.
Wow. So, Carol, what else are you doing right now other than this course that you're going to run in the next few weeks? Do you want to share anything else?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing is, as a master connector, as you know, I match people up with resources, people, contacts to help them with their business. And we're working on global eco cities with sustainable products and services that will serve millions
Wow.
and feed millions and take hardship away.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's on a private, that's in the private world,
Right.
but I get to do that. I get to participate, and I meet wonderful people who have ingenious ideas that have intention in the heart to serve many, and they just need to, to pick up the dots. So that's one of the things I'm good at as a strategist of who to connect and when.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily know why I've chosen them. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to catch up to my
Yeah.
thought process.
Right.
But there's a geniusness behind it because if the two get together or the four get together, whatever, and they build a friendship that
That's
that
that's
love
that's
glue.
when that's when it unfolds.
Yep.
It has to be unconditional. That friendship has to be unconditional for it to go and
Yep.
flower into the next level. Otherwise, it just won't.
Yeah. And if there's so
So,
much ego, you
yeah.
know, and when you're doing something big, like I have the foundation, the Fiji Foundation. When you're
Yeah.
doing something so big, you can't claim it as yours.
No, you can't.
And that's the beauty of it because your ego can't get in the way.
Right.
It just, sorry, and it's not your bank account, it's God's bank account. It's not your vision, it's God's vision, right? And we get the privilege to participate in the creation of that as a co-creator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Carol, I've exhausted my questions. I had a lot of fun too asking you questions. Um,
Well, I hope people enjoy our friendship and
yes.
want to continue building friendships with us.
Yay. I'm all
That
about
works.
it too.
Yeah.
If you want to befriend us, you know where to find us.
Yeah.
And thank you again. I'm really honored to have interviewed
Oh,
you, my new friend.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol.
We're old friends from the spirit world.
Yes. Let's not say old. Let's say, I don't know, any other
Okay,
word.
cellular friends.
Cellular friends. I like that.
Cellular friends. And I love you.
I
Thank you
love you.
so much.
Thank you always.